Hello and welcome back to the channel. In this video I'm going to be sharing with you how to cut and sew this asymmetric neckline bustier dress with basque. So if this is something you like, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and if you haven't yet seen the drafting tutorial, please go down to my YouTube channel at Marky's Closet and let's dive right into today's video. So I'll go ahead to cut out all my pattern, and this is what I have, and I'll be adding ½ inch at the lower part, but going down towards the armhole I did not add. So add ½ inch also at the neckline and I'll cut out. So after I'm done cutting this out, I'll go ahead and cut this out, adding ½ inch at this part, at the lower part, at the upper part, and at the armhole I did not add any ½ inch. I'll use it to cut out the lining also. So for the lining, I'm going to place it on this way, stitch up the neckline, and I will leave the other part of the dress. So I'll go ahead to iron it out also. For this part, I'll go ahead and place my lining on it, and I'll go ahead to iron and then stitch with ½ inch at that point. So I'm done stitching, and this is what I have. Go ahead to notch the neckline and I'll turn this out. So this is what I have after I'm done stitching. So I'll just go ahead and trim out the part that I don't really need, and after this I'll be working bustier part of the pattern, where I'll go ahead to cut this out. So when I was actually sewing my dress, my bustier pattern, one part of it got burnt. So when I replaced it, I mistakenly used another doll face satin, and which I did not realize that was shiny. So if you notice earlier at the front part of my video, you notice that one side of my dress is shiny. So I'll just go ahead and cover it up with an applique. So I added ½ inch in front, and I didn't add for the side, but for the center piece I'll be adding ½ inch all the way round. And also go ahead to cut out or add ½ inch at the upper part of my pattern. So for this pattern now, I'll be using this to cut out the part I'll be using for my padding, and I'll go ahead also to notch it to know where the center is. Go ahead to cut this at the under bust. So I'll use this to cut out my wording also. So while cutting this, I'll just add ½ inch all the way by the side. At the upper part I won't really add much, or I'll go ahead not to even add, because I hate the upper part of my pattern being bulky. So at the lower part, you're not supposed to add. It's meant to be your under bust measurement directly, and I'll go ahead to cut this side also. So remember, I'm just adding ½ inch in front of the wording. You can also use an already made cup on your bustier pattern. It mustn't be a wording or bra foam. So after cutting this, I'll iron it on the dress. So I've already gone ahead to cut out the back pattern, which I cut out lining for. So I'll be turning it with the lining, but before turning it with the lining, I'll go ahead to iron a soft stay or gum, a thick gum stay on it. So I'm just going to explain to you how to stitch. Go ahead to stitch the side, the neckline, and the part going towards the zipper. So next, you want to go ahead to place this and join with ½ inch, and after joining, you're going to also go ahead to place this and stitch it up with ½ inch. Also repeat whatever you do here on the lining piece, which I've gone ahead already to iron a gum stay on, or tissue gum on. So here is my dress after joining. I'll just go ahead to notch it. So I used a soft wording for my dress because I don't like to have too much padding on my dress. My bust is a bit smaller, so I prefer not using too much padding. So now I want to go ahead and join this. So I'll start pinning it. You have to be careful when you're also joining this part, because it's very tricky, and if you don't join it very well, the ankara on top will not relax, because ankara is not really flexible like the mesh or any other fabric you can use on top of the dress, this ankara is actually very stiff. So if you don't join it properly, you're going to have issues, or go ahead to loosen your stitch and join back again. So when you're doing this, just do it patiently and stitch with 1/2 inch, and make sure you pin and follow it gradually. So, and also where this started is immediately where the joining on the other side of the bustier stops. Go ahead to place this, and you're going to be stitching it also with 1/2 inch. So after I'm done stitching with 1/2 inch, this is what I have. Now, before going ahead to notch this out, that is the upper part, not the bustier area. Before going ahead to notch this other part, you're going to join your lining to it before going ahead to notch, and you have to check what you've joined, whether it is well relaxed. Now you're going to place the lining this way, and you're going to start pinning again, just like you pinned earlier. But right now you're going to place the yoke in between the lining and the main dress. So after you're done pinning, you're going to be stitching it back on that same line you used in stitching the first yoke to the main fabric. And after you're done sewing, you're going to go ahead to check what you have. So I had a little mistake. I had to go ahead and loosen one part and stitch it back. So you have to be very careful, and don't be in a hurry to sew the neckline. Just take it easily, because the upper part of this dress is ankara, the yoke is ankara, so it might turn out to be a bit difficult because of the sweetheart neckline on the dress. So just go ahead and notch this. Then you're going to go ahead to stitch the sides with 1/2 inch at both sides. So after I was done stitching, this is what my dress looks like. Now we move over to the skirt. So my lining, I took out about 2 inches from the original length for the lining, because I want to create a turn up effect on the dress. So now I'll go ahead to place it down this way and stitch with 1/2 inch at the lower part. After stitching, now from where the ankara stops, I'm going to measure 1.5 inches, and I'll go ahead to pin and also measure that same 1.5 inches here, and I'll go ahead to pull my skirt. So with that, you have a turn up effect. So if you have any excess on your lining, you can just easily trim it off. So I'll just go ahead to stitch with 1/2 inch on both sides and iron out my skirt. I'll use this method to also stitch the back pattern of the skirt. So after I was done stitching, this is what my skirt looks like. And now I'll iron out my skirt, because we are going to join it to this part of the skirt. Now you're going to fold your skirt, find the midpoint, notch it, and you're going to bring the upper part of your dress. Now you're going to place the basque part of your dress on that notch part. So I'll just draw out a line, a straight line, to show that that is the midpoint of my skirt. Now you want to trace out this basque effect you have on your skirt this way, and just lift this part up a bit. And then after you're done cutting out, you're going to be replacing it with this basque part. So to join, you're just going to place it on this notch part, the basque part on the notch part, and you're going to pin. So to shape this dress and make it easy for you, start sewing from the center to the side. After sewing from the center to the side, go ahead to sew from the center to the side. So if pinning it makes it easier for you, go ahead to pin before sewing, but I join mine without pinning. So now this is the back pattern of the skirt. Remember, I said the way I joined my skirt for the front is how I joined the back. So after I was done joining the back or turning it up with the lining, I want to go ahead to pin it and stitch it down. I want to go ahead and mark the distance for my zip. I'm using 8 inches because we are going to have about 1/2 inch to join it to the upper part, and I marked 1 inch to stitch it down for the lower part of the dress. So now you're going to stitch this with 1/2 inch. So remember also to add a dart to the upper part of your dress, just the same way we marked our dart on the pattern. So now I'm done joining the upper part of the dress, and I'll just notch it. Notch this basque part very well. It is very important for you to notch it. So this is what I have after I'm done sewing, and I'm going to go ahead to introduce the front part of this, sorry, the back part, and we are going to be joining the shoulder. Now you're going to use the back shoulder to and wrap it all over the front shoulder, then stitch it with 1/2 inch. So you notice this shoulder is bigger than the other one. I actually left it this way because I want to trim it out now. So I will notch where the shoulder, the front shoulder meets the back shoulder. So I'll just go ahead and add 1/2 inch there, connect it back to the neckline, and what I'll do now is to go ahead to cut it out. So after I'm done cutting out, I'll go back and I'll stitch it with 1/2 inch down, just like my proper neckline. After stitching it, I'll now use the back neckline to wrap the front and stitch it down with 1/2 inch. So this is the lower part of my sleeve. I want to cut it in form of a flare. I've already cut out my sleeve in the video, so I use the pattern to cut this out. So now I measure what I have at the wrist of the sleeve, which is 5 inches on fold. I'll place my tape, create a semicircle which is about 5 inches, and I'll mark it out. So this is an easier way to draw out your flare sleeve without stress, and I don't want to have too much flare on this. And I'll just go ahead to mark that, measure it out, make sure that the circle is accurate. Now you also want to add 1/2 inch to your original measurement for the round sleeve. In case if it's 10 inches, you're going to be using 11 inches, and dividing it, you'll be having 5.5 inches on fold. So go ahead to place your tape and mark the length of the sleeve you want. So place your measurements following a round circle, and you're just going to cut this out. After I was done cutting out, I placed this on another fabric and I will be cutting this out again. And after this, I'll cut out a lining and I'll use it to turn the sides and the lower part of the sleeve. After I'm done doing that, the next step is to attach this to my sleeve. And to attach this, I'll go ahead to notch the shoulder of the sleeve, because I'll be attaching it to the upper part of my shoulder. Notch where the midpoint of the wrist, then fold this again and I will notch it, then trim out the excess lining I have and also notch it. Go ahead to also notch this. So after I'm done notching, I'll go ahead to attach this to the sleeve of my dress. So I'll explain how to do that and go ahead to join it on my machine. Go ahead to place this way and stitch with 1/2 inch, and then iron out your sleeve. Then after you're done attaching with 1/2 inch, find the midpoint of your shoulder, place the notched part on your sleeve, and you're going to place and stitch with 1/2 inch. Also go ahead and repeat the same process at the back pattern, attach it with 1/2 inch. After this, I pinned my dress and I'll go ahead to mark my under bust, which is 12, my bust, which is 9 inches, my waist, which is 17. Place my tape, mark 7 inches for my hip. If you're much taller, use 8 inches. I'll go ahead to measure what I have here, which is 6.5. My bust circumference is 33. 33 divided by 2, I have 16.5. So that's 16.5. I'll take out 6.5 inches from it. What I have left is 10 inches. So that 10 inches, I'll divide it by 2. So I'll be marking 5 inches on both sides, but I'll go ahead to tighten it. I'll just mark 4.7 inches or 4.5. Now measure what I have here, which is 5 inches. My under bust round measurement is 28. 28 divided by 2, I have 14. So that 14, I'll take out these 5 inches I measured from it, and I have 9 inches left. That 9 inches, I'll go ahead to divide it by 2, which is 4.5 at both sides. So my under bust and my waist measurement is the same thing, which is 28 inches. And I'll go ahead to also use that measurement on that point. So it is a method of shaping a bustier, and if you have any question, please ask concerning it. Now at the hip point, my hip is 40 divided by 2, I have 20, but what I have here is 23.5. Now I will divide that 23.5 into 2 and mark. Then I'll be connecting from the upper part all the way to my hip point. Now place my tape back here and I'll mark my hip, which is 40 divided by 2 giving me 20, and I'll mark. But when I'm shaping, I'll go in a bit so that it will be fitted on my hip. I'll mark 1.5 inches here and come down. So if you want it to be more fitted, go in by 2 inches, but I'm okay with 1.5 inches. So if you notice, when I'm marking my hip point, I went in a bit. Now measure your armhole circumference divided by 2 and mark. Mine is 16 divided by 2. I have 8, which I marked, and I repeated the same thing here. And for my sleeve, I just added about half or 1 inch to it, which I'll go ahead to shape out. And from here, which is the joining, slant it to the end with half. So after I was done sewing, this is the final look of the dress. If you find this tutorial very interesting and educative, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and also join us in our next video. Thanks.